This monster is responsible for some of the most unimaginable crimes in history, and even his own lawyer called him the face of evil. He was born in Austria in 1935, and from an early age showed severe behavioral and educational issues. He was extremely violent and had no empathy towards others. When he was just 6 years old, he already had a criminal record after he assaulted a young girl. But instead of getting help, his crimes only escalated. When he was 23, he kidnapped a woman and took her to an isolated barn where he chained her up, repeatedly raped her and then set her on fire. The crazy thing is that before this, he had already been convicted of multiple sex offenses and was serving a prison sentence for them. But authorities let him go early because he was deemed insane. After setting the woman on fire, he actually called the police himself to tell them what he had done. When they arrived at the scene, they found the victim with severe burns. She managed to tell them that she had been attacked by a man named Josef, who had also tried to kill her, but sadly, she died from her injuries a few days later. When the police finally tracked down Fritzl, he confessed to the crime and was sentenced to 10 years in prison. However, he was once again released early due to his mental state. And if you're thinking that this is where the story ends, well, you'd be wrong. In total, over the course of his lifetime, he would commit at least 83 sexual offenses. Some of these included rape, incest, sexual abuse, and coercion. But that wasn't all. He was also a burglar, arsonist, kidnapper, and attempted murderer. Despite being so obviously dangerous, he was once again set free, mainly because he was able to convince everyone that he was mentally unstable. He even fooled doctors into believing that he suffered from multiple personality disorder. However, it's now believed that he was just a psychopath playing them all along. After being released, he married a woman named Rose and had children with her. But even as a husband and father, he was incredibly abusive. He would beat his wife and children regularly, and even locked them up in a basement sometimes. To make matters worse, he also had a really sick obsession with his daughter, which he acted on when she was just 11 years old. He started by taking photos of her while she was in the shower and then progressed to raping her. He did this for years and even got his son involved at one point. Then things got even more sinister. One day he told his daughter that she had to move into the basement with him, because he was going to build a tunnel to their secret hideaway under the family home. Of course, this was just another excuse to abuse his daughter. He built the tunnel so that he could easily get to the basement and kidnap his daughter without anyone seeing him. As time passed, the basement became more like a prison for the young girl. Fritzl installed bars on the windows and made sure that she was always locked up. He also put cameras everywhere so that he could spy on her at all times. And if that wasn't bad enough, he even put a trap door in the ceiling that allowed him to secretly enter her room without her knowing. Years went by, and the girl eventually gave birth to a child, which made Fritzl incredibly angry. He didn't want his daughter to have a baby, because that meant that she would need to be taken out of the basement every now and then for medical appointments. This meant that there was a chance that someone could find out about his crimes. But despite all the danger that his daughter and grandchildren were in, he still continued to abuse them. And it would have gone on for even longer if it wasn't for a terrible mistake that he made. One day he took one of his grandchildren out of the basement so that he could be examined by a doctor. This was a huge risk, and thankfully the child was returned safely. However, the next time he took his daughter out of the basement, she used a neighbor's phone to call the police. When officers arrived at the house, they were stunned by what they found. They arrested Fritzl and charged him with 88 different crimes, including the imprisonment of his own daughter. When he was finally brought to justice, the whole world was shocked. His trial lasted for 8 months, and he was finally sentenced to life in prison plus 5 years. Despite all the evidence against him, he still tried to plead insanity. But this time, it didn't work. To this very day, he remains in jail and is 87 years old.